Right. We started with JavaScript in our last class, and we are able to talk about what is JavaScript. Then we move under the variable, which is where I'm going to start over again. What is variable? I mentioned it last time that variables are name that you use to represent a value. So all your data are going to be stored somewhere, but what are you using to save them? There. What name are you using to save all your data? So we have the variable. But what are the type of the data you saving there? That's where we have the data type. And we started with how we can create variable in JavaScript, and I talked about what is a variable declaration, which means you are creating your variable without you specifying the value you want to put inside it at that moment. So when you create your variable and there is no value for it at that time that you are creating the variable, we call it variable declaration. And we talked about different methods that you can use there. What are the rules in the naming there? So we talked about everything at the last class. And apart from that, we talk about variable initialization. So which means this time around, you are creating a variable and at the same time, you are giving it value. So when you are giving it value at the same time that you are creating the stuff, it is known as variable initialization. And for you to initialize a variable, you use your const keyword or let keyword to declare or to initialize your variable. So here we have the age, and we are initializing it to 5. Again, too, we have another age which is being initialized to 5. But the 5 of this one is quite different from this one because we have something known as data type. So, and in JavaScript, we have these major types there like that. So we have the number type, we have the string type, and I told you the string type is just text that you join together. And when you are dealing with string, you have to put it in a quote. So the quote can be single or double quotes, any one of them. But if you're using double, then you have to end with double. Like if you start with double, I mean this is the starting quote, and this is the ending quote. So if you start with double, you have to end with double, and if you start with single, you have to end with single. Another one we have there is known as this backtick, which is something you are going to see on top of this beside one. So the key beside one, that's where you are going to see it. We call it tilde there. So it face back like this. So if you want to use that one too, you can always use this to const address here now. So I can use backtick. So this is what we call backtick here. It's not straight like the normal this in there. So like the normal code, it's facing back like this. So that's why we call it backtick. So these are different ways of representing a text. Anytime you're dealing with text, it must always be in code. Don't forget your programming already is using text. So, and in order for you to differentiate the programming construct and your own, you need to put them in a quote there. So anything that is not in a quote, if you think it is a construct or keyword that you have in your program there, and it will try to translate it, and if it cannot translate it, then you get error. But when you're dealing with number, just type it and the normal way you used to write number. But you know, I mentioned it that we have different type of number. We have the integer, which is int there like that, which means number without decimal point. So this one now, in JavaScript, everything is number. But when you go deeper in programming there, the number two are subdivided based on the type of the number you are working with. So any number with that decimal point, we used to call them this in there. So we call all this kind of a number to be integer. And any one of them with decimal points, they are referred to as decimal or float, depending on what the programming language is using. So anytime you go to another programming language and they are talking about float, just know that what they are talking about is just number with decimal point. The difference between decimal and float is just the size, like the amount of number you can use there. But yeah, we don't care about that in JavaScript. Everything is just number to us here like that. But your number too can be represented in different base. So we have the base 10, which is what we are going to be using a lot. But apart from that, we have the base, which is base 2, here. So when you want to represent a number in binary, so you start with 0, then followed by B, and whatever number that follows it have to be a binary number. So for the octa, which is base 8, I told you that anytime you start a number with 0 and that number is not up to 8 there, it will think it is base 8 automatically. So if I use 0, 6 like this, you're still going to guess it because 6 is still 6 in base 8. But now if I use 333, as you can see, it's not 33. What is giving us is this 27. Why? Because JavaScript is thinking this our number here is base 8. Once you start with 0 and any number that follows it is not up to 8, then it will just think. So if I use another 3 here, so it's not the same thing. But if I use 9 or any number above 7, you see that it knows that this one are not octa there like that. But you can actually enforce it by telling it that, oh, I'm actually talking about octa. So once you put O there, so whatever you follows it must be a valid octa number or base 8 number. So here now if I use 0, it will complain because 9 is not a valid octa number or base 8 number. But if I use any other number, then it's going to do whatever it needs to do. But majorly, based on what we are going to be doing, we are not going to be using octa number like that. But it's something you need to know, because when you are doing your code, we are dealing with your code, and you are not doing something like 0, 3, whatever stuff, and it's not giving another value. You should go back to your definition of what all these things are doing there, because as you can see right now, even though you are not doing anything like that, but because you type something like this, it's giving you another result there. So it will not look as if this thing is doing something wrong. It's doing something right. You just need to understand what is going on behind the scene there like that. Again, the number can be represented with this E, which is for exponential, like 10 raised to power whatever number in front of it. So if I want to do 10 raised to power, so if I want to do, once you have one E 6 like this, what this one means is 1 times 10 raised to power 6. So which means we are going to have 6 0 there like that. Doesn't need to be 1. So it can be any number. So 2.5 E2 like this, as you can see, it will do the necessary. So 2.5 multiplied by 10 raised to power 2, and it will do the necessary stuff that needs to do there like that. So that's another way of representing number. And as you can see, it can be both decimal and integer. Any one of them is what you can use. Again, too, I mentioned it that we have base 16, which I did not put it there in the note. So we have the base, which is known as x, hexadecimal like that. So it's always start with 0x, then followed by any hexadecimal number like that. So for example, here now, I'll go back to the screen so that we can quickly see it. So I have 0x, then whatever number that I have to follow it have to be a binary number. So AB, as you can see here, it will give us the corresponding number in base 10. But we're always going to be working in base 10, but it's something you need to know in case something like that comes later on. But for now, we're always going to focus on the base this in there. But this is not the only type we have in JavaScript. We have other type that you are going to be used there, which is known as this Boolean. So Boolean, the only value we have there is this true or false. These are the value that we have for our Boolean. So we are dealing with Boolean value. These are only the two values. So true means that something is yes, okay, or that's what you want. While false means the thing is no or not what you want. Is it going to be, is the user logged in? Your answer will either be yes or no. But here we don't do yes or no. What we have is true or false. So when it is true, you want to do something on the page. For example, now if you go to some sites there like that, if you are not logged in, there is something that are going to show to you. But if you log in, there is another thing that is going to show there like that. So what are they doing there? They are going to be using condition, but that condition will either be true or false. So based on that, you can do whatever you want to do. So you can create a variable known as is logged in, and you set the value as a Boolean value. So don't forget, this is how to represent Boolean. So this one is not Boolean there like that. So this is not Boolean because now I told you everything in JavaScript is case sensitive. So this is what we have true and we have false. Nothing like this. So the types you can see nothing like that, nothing like this, nothing like this. All this one, they are not valid value as boolean there like that. The only value we have is true and we have false. But behind the scene, this true and false too, they are number. So they are number. So this true is the same thing as you just saying one. So you can see it's giving us that they are the same, even though so behind the scene, true is just one. There like that. So they are just number. This is one and this is zero. So that when you get to some places later on, because the way Boolean work, by the time you started using it, when you are dealing with number two, it will be working as Boolean. So there like that. So after that, what do we have? We have assignment there like that. So we have this assignment of variables. And what does this mean? It means that we have some variable that can change their value. Like you have value to be school, then you want to change it to another value later on. So you can. So when you're changing value, what you are doing is you are assigning to that variable. For example, here we have let age to be 1. So since this variable is something I can change, so another line I can just do here and change the age to 30 like this. What am I doing here? What I'm doing here is assignment. So I'm assigning 30 to this age. Here, we said this one is declare. You are initializing your variable there. But here, after you've already initialized your variable and you're now changing the value, we call it assignment. So when you say you should assign your variable, that means that variable is already there. Your own is down to change the value. And when you are assigning a value, we don't put let or const there again. What you do there is just the name of the variable followed by the assignment operator here. This is the operator there, which is assigned. It's not equal to, we don't call it equal to here. So what you call it assignment, even though when we are doing some stuff later on, I might be saying equal to, but this is not equal to, just for you to grab based on your knowledge from math. But that this is not equal to operator. By the time we get to operator, this is equal to here, and this is another one. So these are the equal to there like that. But this one is known as assignment. So it's not that you are saying age is equal to 30. What you are doing, you are assigning 30 to age. So which means anywhere you call age, is no longer be 1, it will now be this new value 30 that we have there. So for example here now, let's console log age. So the first time is going to give us line 56. It's going to give us 1. Then by the time you get to line 58, you see that the value will now be the new age because it has changed. So going back to the screen, as you can see on line 56, because the time we create it, at this point, the age is still 1. But after this line, or from this line downward, the age will be the new value that you pass there. So this is what we call assignment, and this is one of the operators that we have in JavaScript. So this symbol you are seeing here is one of the operators. We have a lot of other operators that you can use. But before we get there, you can actually convert from one type to another type. That one, if it is valid, it's not just any conversion. I told you that our boolean, that true and false, behind the scene, they are just number. So you can convert boolean to number, and you can convert number to boolean there. So how do you do conversion? So you can always, there is some of them that are known as automatic conversion. So which means JavaScript is going to do conversion for you automatically when you are using it with some operator. But some of them, it doesn't do it at all. So you have to use the operator to do the conversion. But one of the operator we have in JavaScript is the addition, which is this plus here. So anytime you see plus, depending on where you are using it, the meaning quite different. So if you have it between two value like this, it is known as your normal mathematics arithmetic operator. So which means you want to add this one into this one. But again too, the value you put beside it will determine how it is going to add them. And that's the reason why our type here is very important, because the way some of this thing will work is depending on the type you are using it with. For example here, when you are using it with number, it will do your normal thing that you know. So 3 plus 3 is 6. 3 plus 2 is 5. But now imagine and I do something like this, ABC, then plus let's just say Z like this. Can you see what is not doing? It's doing something else. So when you're using plus with string, what it does is that you just join all of them together. You cannot, this is what we call concatenation here. So it's joining all the string together. Even if it is number, it will do automatic for you. So here if I do 3 plus 3 with string, can you see what it's doing? It's different from the 3 3. Now, this one is giving us 6, but now this one is not giving us 33. What it's doing is that behind the scene, JavaScript has already converted this one to string. Then it's just perform this your concatenation there like that. So JavaScript is kind of crazy with the way it do some conversion, and that's why you need to know about all this foot gun, because if you don't know about all this foot gun, by the time you started using it and things are not calculating very well, it's because of what I'm explaining right now. It's something I can just skip and go forward to that. But by the time you started working, you started all this thing will come in place, because the data you'll be getting from the page, they are not going to be a direct number, even though the user is typing number. But by the time you are doing it from JavaScript, since you do not know what is going on here, you will just add them together. And by the time you get to the screen, it will be showing 33 instead of it to be showing 6 that it's supposed to show. Because when it is number, this is what you get. But if one of them is string, it will convert all of them to string. Then the next thing, it will concatenate them together by joining them. And as you can see, the result is not a number. It's just the string, because anything with quotes is always string. But how do you do it? How do you do the conversion? Assuming the data that is coming back is string, but you want to add it to this one, you can always convert by calling any of the operator here. So if you want to convert to string, just pass whatever you have into string, then to convert it to string for you. If it is number too, maybe you have a string, you can always pass it inside this number and it will convert it there like that. For example, so here number, then I pass 3 like this, and you see that it will convert it. But if you pass something it doesn't know about, you get NaN, which is not a number. So if I use AB now, because it's something you cannot convert to number, what you get is NaN. NaN is just not a number. That's what that thing is just in, that you cannot convert that thing to number, because a lot of the thing later on when you are collecting information from a user, you don't trust. One of the things, even if it's you that is going to be putting that stuff, you treat yourself as a user that is not trusted, like trustworthy. Because if you go and create application for bank, and they need to impute value, and if they know that they can cheat this your box, they will just go and send what they are not supposed to send a box, and your system will start doing nonsense there, because you did not undo all this crazy stuff that used to happen with JavaScript out of the box there. So you can always do conversion there like that anytime you need it. It's a simple way of converting to number in JavaScript. You know, I told you that the way plus work is depending on where you use it. So if you use plus in front of a string like this, it will do that conversion automatically too. So this one, this line here is just the same thing as you type in number like this. You can see both of them are giving us the same result. So when you use plus in front of a string, it will try to convert it to number. But if it's something that you cannot convert, you get not a number. But if it is after, then it's doing something else. So it's not doing your normal. So it's waiting for the other value so that it can do calculation. So some of these value you need to know where you can use them, and you need to use them correctly, because if you don't use them correctly, they will be doing something else on the page like that. So apart from all this one, let's go to main operators that we have there like that. So we have different type of operator, or your operator is divided into different parts. So we have the arithmetic one, which means the mathematical operators are there. As you can see, we started using some of them. So a plus b will give you the addition of the number. A minus b, we subtract the number, which is no. The a is 10 and the b is 3 there like that. So the asterisk is for multiplication, while this forward slash is for the division like that. For example, here I have 1 divided by 2, and we are going to have the result. So for the multiplication, then you use asterisk, and for the power we have double asterisk. So what this mean is 2 raised to power whatever the number you have after it. So if I have 5, what this mean is that 2 raised to power 5, which is not the same thing as 2 multiplied by 5. So 1 asterisk is multiplication, 2 asterisk is power there like that. So when you want to raise a number to the power of the other one, the first number will be in front, then the second one is going to be by the right there. Again, this plus is still crazy, because when you use it, but this one I'm not explaining it right now, because this is something that can even take 1 hour before you grab how this thing works. But for now, I will just do simple stuff about it. So for example, here we have something called increment and decrement operators are there like that. So what are they? They are in two form for the increment. So for the increment, it comes in two form. So we have the pre-increment and we have the post increment like that. But this post is the one that is crazy, but I will not explain it right now because that one is crazy. So what I will just explain is the pre version of it like that. But both of them to you, they might look as if they are doing the same thing, but technically they are not doing. They are doing the same thing, but the time they are doing it is different. So when you're talking about increment operator, it's just this plus plus here. So for example, we have let age to be 1. So when you now do plus plus age here, this is what we call pre because you put it before the variable. So when you put it after the variable, so let age 2 to be 1, then we now have, so this is what we call the post increment. This is what we call the pre increment. Right now, it will look as if they are doing the same thing, but technically they are not doing it at the same time. The time they are doing it is quite different. So if I console log out the two of them, you are going to see that the value is changing. So what they are doing here is that anytime you use this increment operator, what it does is that increase the value of your variable by 1. So if the variable of the variable before is 10, then the new value it will be increased by 1. So which means if it is 10 before, then after this line or from this line, so it's going to turn to 2 here. But for this one, on this line, it's still going to be 1. But by the time you get here, it already turned to 2. But for this one, is always, as you can see the difference. This one is 2, 2. But this one is 1, 2. But I will not explain what you just need to know for now. Because if I start explaining it, we spend 1 hour here on top of this small stuff here that we don't really need right now. The one you need right now, you know that this thing, once you have it beside your variable, and your variable is number, because you always use it with number. So what you have there is that it will always increase whatever value that your variable is holding by 1. But where you can have problem is the post one. The post one, when you are using it, but for now, I will not be doing it in a way that we are going to be having this problem. The way we are going to be using is that the one that will match 2, 2 at this place. So saving this stuff, come there, as you can see, we are having 2, 2. But if I console log out from here, it will never work. So if I do this, you see that they will not give us the same result. So plus plus, and this one is going to be plus plus. Let me comment out this one too, like that. So, and again, this one will not give us 2 again, it will give us 1. So save it, and can you see now? So, but there is crazy stuff going on with it. What it, by simple stuff is that when you are using pre, the time you put the plus plus there, you are getting the new value. But when you are doing post, the time you put the plus plus there, the value has not increased. It's when you leave that side. But not just about leaving this line, no. It's when you leave this, when the computer is done with whatever you are doing here. Because don't forget, I can always have more plus plus here too. I can still do plus plus H2 like this. I have not leave that line. But it's going to finish whatever you are doing here before moving to the next operation. So this operation, at this time of this operation, the value is still going to be old value. But by the time it's done with this operation here and it's moved to the next operation, then the value will now change to new one. But for now, you don't really need all this deep this because on the page you will not really be using this one much. But when you are dealing with mathematical calculation that you need to, so you can always use the stuff like that. But for now, I'm not going to be going. I will just leave it there, sample like that. But just know what it does there is that they increase your value by 1. They don't go more than 1. The same thing too for decrement operator. It's just the opposite of increment. So instead of him adding 1, this one will just remove 1. So if your value before is 5, then when you do minus minus or this decrement operator before it, which is pre, then it will remove 1 from your old value. The same thing too for the post. It will do it, but don't forget, the time you call it, the value did not change. It is after that operation is done that the value will now. So that's why you always see this one being used, the pre, because at that point you already know you are dealing with new value, not still the old one. But at some time you need this type, but most of the time we don't even need to use it because there is a better way to handle the stuff. And how can you handle it? We have some other operator order the assignment. So this is the assignment. which is something I mentioned before. So this is your assignment. You are assigning a 10 to what? X. So that means X is going to hold 10. And anytime you call X, it's going to give you back the value it's holding. But you can do compound assignment. So no, for all this one that I mentioned here, you can always do it yourself instead of putting yourself in that foot gun. For example, we have age here to be 20. So after this line, we can just say age plus equal to. So here, you can combine your arithmetic with your assignment. So what you are doing here is that whatever the value of age before, you are adding 5 to it. Then the new result is what the age will now be holding. So when we do age plus, this one, what it's doing is that it will take whatever value you have in the age before. What is the value? 20. Then to perform this operation with the new value, then the result, it will set it back into age. That one, if you're using assignment, if this assignment is not there, at this point, it's not changing the value. You are just using the value from this one did not modify the value. In order for it to modify the value, it has to do this. So which means you can do something like this. You can do age plus equals to 1, which is still going to give us not 10. Is going to be 1, so which is going to be 21 like this. So this one is going to be 26 and so forth like that, depending on whatever we do. So this one is going to be 21. So for this one, give me the results. So it's going to be 105, and for this one, it's going to be 21 like that. What is happening here is that anytime you have this assignment there, it always take what you have on the left, on the right, put it on what you have on the left. But don't forget, there is another operator beside it. So assuming it is just this operator that is here, just take this original value, put it here. But once there is operator, you have to perform this one first with the old value, then the new value is what you put inside your variable there like that. So for example here, we have let's so students 1 to be 30, or let's just say age 1 to be 35, and let age 2 to be 10. So if you want, you can add them together by just saying age 1 plus age 2 like this. This one, you are not changing them. So you are not changing them. You are always using the value of age 1 and you are using the value of age 2. The only time your variable will change is when there is this operator there. So when this, so now next time now, if I try to call this age 1, you see that it will still maintain its original value, which is 35. The same thing too, if you call your age 2, that one too is not, you are not changing. All these other operators are not changing. They are just using the value. So what you are saying here, give me the value of age 1, then add it to the value of age 2. Then use the result on this line. Use the result on that line. And once you are done, that's the end of that line. So which means when you come here, you did not really modify the value here, and you don't modify the value. If you want to modify the value, this operator must always be the assignment. It's the one that will take whatever you have on the right and it will put it on what you have on the left. So here now we can just say age 1 is the same thing. It's going to now be age 1 plus. So now you are now changing the value of age 1. But what are you doing? You are taking the value of age 1 before, you add it to the age 2 that we have here too. Then the value, the result you have here is now go to what you have on the left. So now if you console log out the two of them again, the value will be different for age 1. But age 2 still remain the same because we did not change. It's only the age 1 that we change. We did not change the 2 like that. I have this in somewhere. How many this in? The console is too much. So this line is just the addition there. So this one is not changing anything. The only time you change is when you are using this operator there, because as from this moment on, I will just be using them. We won't be talking about what they are doing again there. So we have the assignment operator. Another operator we have there is this comparison operator. So and the value you get here will either be true or false. You can never get any other value. When you are using this comparison operator, the value you only get is Boolean. So and each one of them have the way they work. So this is what we call equality now. So this is where you do, when you now want to compare things together, you are going to be using equality. Equality operator, it can be these two. You combine two assignment operator together. But the one you always use is the one of 3. Don't use the one of that 2 because that one used to do conversion that you don't want. For example, now look at it. I want to check if 5 is the same thing as 5. But look at it now. It's telling us they are the same. But technically, they are not the same. This one is number, while this one is string. So that one used to do the checking. So when you use the one of 3, it will do the type checking too, not just about the value. As you can see now, this one give us the correct result. So don't use this one, always use this one. You don't use this one if you don't care about the type, which most of the time you always care about the type. So always go with the one of 3, not the one of 2. That's the reason why this one is introduced to solve the problem of this like that, because it will do conversion first before it started comparing. But this one doesn't do any conversion. It compare their type too. And since the type is not the same thing, then it will be false. But here now, 5 now will be equals to 5. The same thing too, this 5 will be equals to this 5 because they are of the same type, not just about the value alone like that. So we have this equality. So this is what we call the equality. This is not the one you use for equality here. This is not equal to. This is what you are going to be using to check equality there like that. Again too, we have the opposite, which is not equal to like that, even though it looks like I've converted the stuff because of the browser, or you can always install fonts that is going to do it like this for you in your code editor like that. But I'm going to do it here because this one doesn't have. So when you are checking for equality, we have these 3. But when you are checking for not equal, we have this 1. So instead of this, so this not means it is not equal to. There is one of these. Don't do this one too, because this one too used to do conversion. So what you use is exclamation mark, then followed by the double assignment operator there. So double assignment operator, after this your exclamation mark. So this one, it do the opposite of the work of this one. This one, if they are equal, it will return true. If they are not equal, it will return false. But that one now, if they are equal, it will return false. If they are not equal, it will return true because you are checking the opposite there. So it's 5. So if you say 5 is not equals to 5, it will be false because 5 is actually equals to 5. So the time it will be true if they are not the same thing. Is 4 not equals to, or is 5 not equals to 4? Yes, because they are not equal to. For example, that sometimes you are looking for the negative. So it's only when it is negative that is your own true, not when they are positive. They're like, because it's only when they are not equal to that I want to show you something. So if the user are not logged in, show them the login form. But if they are logged in, then you want to do something else like that. So you're always going to be using this operator to be doing all those checking. For example here, you can always do all this. I will get to that one once we get to that control flow. Let me skip it for now. We have all this other one too, which is greater than. We have the greater than equal to. So this one, this is not how you represent it in your code. It's because when you're using fonts that do the conversion, this is how it's going to show. But normally, when you're typing from your code editor that doesn't have all those functionality, so greater than is this. So 5 is 5 greater than 5, or is 5 greater than 3, you either get true or false. Again, to 5 greater or equal. So this one now, if I say 5 greater than 5, no, there's no way you'll be greater than yourself. You are always yourself. But what if you want to check whether you are greater or equal, like any one of them, you don't care. So we can always use this. So this one is doing checking. It can be either greater or they are equal. As long one of them is true, then both of them is true. If it is greater that is true, everything is true. If it is equal that is true, everything is true. Because here you can actually have something like this, greater or equals to 3. As you can see, it's still true. Even though 5 is not equals to 3, but since it's greater, then everything, as long as it is greater or equal, we accept the stuff to be okay there like that. The same thing too, you have the less than version of it. So this is less than, and you have less than equal to what you are doing, because this is the symbol you are seeing here. This is less than or equals to. So this is how you type it. This is how it's going to be from your own end, not like this one that you are seeing. The same thing too for the greater or equal to. This is how it's going to be. So greater equal. So greater first, then followed by equal. But when you're doing less, less, then equal like this. So this is how it works, not the other way around. You can't do it. So this is something else. This is something else in JavaScript. So when you turn it like this, you are doing something else at top. Once you get to function, you see what this one is doing. So greater or equal, not the other way around, not like this. This one is doing something else. So this is what you need for greater or equals to, and this is what you need for less or equal to, like that, because the symbol is not being represented like this, looking like mathematics, but this is not the way you type it from your keyboard. Another set of operators that are very useful that you are going to be using later on are these logical operator. This one too is crazy, but I'm just going to explain basic stuff about it. By the time we need it, I'm going to bring it later on when we get to the advanced part that we're going to be using it. But for now, what I just want you to know is that we have the AND operator, and we have the OR operator, and we have the NOT operator. So when you are talking about the AND, both of them must be true before you are going to get truth attributes. So here too, it's not always true and false you'll be getting, because you can use it with number later on, or you can use it with any value later on. What you are going to be getting here will be different. But for now, we are using it with Boolean. Please, we are using it with Boolean, but it's not only Boolean that you can use it with. You can always use it with other type of value. So when you are dealing with AND, if the two value are true, you're always going to get true value. But if one of them is false, then everything is false. If one of them is false, everything is false. Before it will accept, before you get true, it's not only true value you'll be getting here, because you can use it with other type of value. But right now we're using it to Boolean. But you can always use it with text or any other type value. When we get to the advanced part, I will explain it. But for now, note that if the two sides are true, then you always get true. But if any one of them is false, you always get false. That's how it works with Boolean. But with other type of value, that's not how it works. Let me just give you the snippet of it. So when you have true like this and true, you see that you get true. But if one of them is false, then everything is false. It doesn't matter whether the first one or the second one. So if it is true and false, it will still be false like that. Or if it is false and false, as long one of them is false, everything will always be false. You must be true. Like this one, I know the condition is that you must log in and you must be admin. So which means the two of them must meet, because there's some way we are going to be showing you the admin dashboard. You not log in and you're not admin. Even if you are logged in, one condition is not met. So you are still not supposed to see admin. You are supposed to be seeing the normal staff dashboard. So you see normal staff dashboard, not the admin dashboard. But if you are not even logging at all, that one says it will be showing something else for you, which is going to be the login page. That's where all these things are going to come in use. As you can see down here, are you admin? Do you have access? Then if both of them are true, that's where you are going to see this welcome there. But this if here, we soon get to it by the time we are talking about control flow, because that's what you are going to be using with all these operator later on there like that. The opposite of this AND is this OR, which is this double pipe here. So this one is the opposite. As long one of them is true, then everything is true. Don't forget that the one we say greater or. So as long one of them is true, this one will always be true. The only time it will be false is when both of them are false. So it's not like the AND. So this one, we can show you dashboard as long as you are staff. But again too, we have different type of staff. You have the marketing staff, you have the other, but all of you are C staff. So whether you are marketing staff or you are just normal staff or any other type of staff, all of you are still going to see the same dashboard, or you are still going to see that same information. But if there are some places that there are multiple conditions that needs to be met, then you are going to be using AND. AND is for multiple conditions, and all of them must be true, because as long one of them is not true, then none of them is true there like that. But if one of them have to be true, so as long as you are logged in and you are staff, but we don't care whether type of your staff, as long as staff is part of your name, then you can always see the stuff like that. So that's where the OR is going to, but it go more than this. It's not just for Boolean value, so it can be used with normal value. But the way it works with normal value is quite different. Even though you use that same knowledge, but the value is returning is different. For example, here, if I have A or B like this, as you can see, what is returning? Is returning A. But why is it returning A? Is because of the way this thing works. So in JavaScript, let me explain this because you need to understand what is truthful values, and we have something known as falsy values. So when you're talking about false value, they are the one that when you convert it to Boolean, they will always give you false in JavaScript. And these are some of them. We don't talk about it. Once you know this one, you know that every other value is because there's a lot of value that are meant for truth are like that. So there's a lot of them. So for example, this is not all. Anything that is not within this range, just know that it is part of the one at the top. And that's why I always talk about false one, because those one are definite. So you know them. So false, when you use it at Boolean, you know it's false. Zero is always false. Empty string is always false. Undefined, null, not a number. These are values that when you are using them as Boolean, they are going to return false. So we call them false value. For example, here now, to convert anything to Boolean, we've talked about how you can convert type. So when you pass anything to Boolean here, for example, I pass this A. Can you see what is returning? True. Why? Because it's not part of the false value there. But now if I pass Boolean and I pass false there, as you can see, it will be false. If I pass 0, as you can see, it's false. Empty string is going to be false. But the one with space is not false because space 2 is a value. So it's not false value. That's why this one is empty, not this. They are not the same thing. This is empty like that. So again too, when you pass undefined or null, these are something you'll be using later on to represent value that doesn't exist yet, but something that you are going to be, or you create your variable. When you create your variable or you declare your variable, know that it's not value. What is going to be there is undefined by default. So all this one, when you use them, when you convert them to Boolean, they are going to be false like that. No, so that means you know that when you are dealing with all these values, you know which one is false and which one is not false. You know that we can see that this one A is true, B2 is true. But normally we are supposed to be getting true, but it's not returning A. Why is it returning A? It's because of the rules, the way it works. We are dealing with normal number that are not Boolean. So we are dealing with normal number that are not, or we are dealing with value that are not Boolean on this your logical operator. So this is how it works. So logical operator with let's just say non-Boolean values like this. So when you have it in this way, so let's do the OR first. What's wrong with this AI? Don't overdo. So we have the OR, and the OR is just this double pipe like that. So we have the AND, and for the AND is just this operator. So this is how it works. So when you are dealing with OR and you have one value beside it like this, and you have another value beside it like this, so it will either, so when they are not Boolean value, the value it return here will either be A or B, depending on whether the two of them are true or false. So these are, when you are doing your calculation for them, you can only convert them to true or false. So if the value of A is true, it doesn't matter the value of B, it will always return A. So this one will return A, so this one too will return A. But for this one too, it will return the value of B, and this one too will return the value of B. These are the value it will return when you are doing your computation. So when you convert the value of A, when you convert this A to Boolean and it's giving you true, you don't need to do anything with this B again. What you are going to get back is the value of A. And what I mean by A is the value you have on the left, and this is the value you have on the, let me use this left and right. So I think this one will be better instead of using A and B. So we have right like that. So let me update all this one. Left. This one is going to be the left value. Let me put it there. Value like that. And this is going to be right value. So when you have, this is the left value, this is the right value beside it. So if the value you have here, you convert it to Boolean and it's giving you true, the value you are getting back is that left value. So if it doesn't matter whether the value on the right is true or false, this first one is what is determining what is get to return. So if the value on the right is always true, what you always get back is that left value, and that's the reason why it's returning A. Because by the time we pass the A to Boolean, as you can see, the value is returned. It returned true. So it doesn't matter. Even this P2 is true, but since A is already true, that's the value you get back. But if you now do something, so here if I do false, so for me to get false on the left, or if I do 0 or B like this, as you can see, is now returning the second value, which is based on this. So when the first one, the left one, is false, as long the left one is false, it doesn't matter too, or your value of B. B is not, this right is not determining what is going on. What is determining the value is whatever on the left. So it doesn't care about your right value, but it will return it to if the value on the left is false. So it will always going to get the right value as long the value on the left is false. It doesn't matter whether that right is false or is true. It will always return the right value. So this is how it works with non-Boolean value. So when you're dealing with non-Boolean value, this is how it works. But when you're dealing with Boolean value, it will either be true or false based on whether the left is true or not. If the left is true, it will always be true that you get back. So that one, but here now I'm combining multiple stuff together. It's not just Boolean that is here. So in here now, as you can see, it's still returning B because the way it works when it's not normal Boolean, it's so even that's the same. You can think of it like that too when you're dealing with Boolean too. But this is how it works in JavaScript. It doesn't work like this in other language. In other language, you either get true or false. But here in JavaScript, this is how it works like that. So when you have left value, and if that left value you convert it to Boolean and it's giving you true, that left value is what you get back. Because this thing is very important to when we started using all these things later on. It's not so the opposite is now what we have here. For and is the opposite. So it is the opposite here. So when the value on the left is true, as long as the value of the left, it will always return. This AI is nonsense. It will always return the right value. It doesn't care about the right. Left is still what is determined. So if the right value is true, it will always, if the left value is true, it will always return the right value. Now when it is or, that one, if the left is true, you are getting back the left. But for the and, when the left is true, you are getting back the right. Just swipe it. As you can see here, the stuff is being swiped. So like that. So here now, the same thing we did here now. Let's do the same thing too. There like that. So we do false, then we now have B. As you can see, is return left. So when the left is false, you always get back left. When the left is true, you always get back the right. So which means here if I do A or B, you get. So no, this is not what I want to. So no, it's and that I want to do. So as you can see, because there is supposed to be reverse, because we are dealing with and. So if it is or, you get A, but if it is and, you get B. Because it has to reverse, you can say when it is true, it is right, but when it is false, then it is left. That one is for and. But when it is or, then if it is true, that's same left, and if it is false, then you get back the right like that. And lastly, the other one we have is the not operator. So with that one is even the simplest one there, like that. So what this one does is that it negates whether the value is true or false. What you always get here is true or false. It's not like these two that is returning left or right value. This one here, you always get true or false. So if the value you had before, you negate it. If it is true, then it will give you the false value. But if it is false before, then it is true. For example, if it is not raining, that's when you want to go outside. No, it's when it's not raining that's your own true, not when it is raining. So that's something like, so when you are not logged in, show login form. Then when it's login, then that's not the thing we are looking for. Show another thing at that point there. So for example here now, this one is only true or false. If I do not B, like you can see, it's doing false. Why is it false? It's because when you convert that value, which is this B, when you see that it is true. So what it does here is now negate. So this one, it always work with Boolean. So if you give you anything that is not Boolean, it will convert it to Boolean first. It will not negate that value. So since the value here is, well, by the time you convert, so what is now doing behind the scene is this. That's this one you are getting this first. So it's not that he's doing magic, it's just the rule. Like once you understand what is going on behind the scene, you grab everything. Because later on we are going to be using all these things. That's why I'm putting more attention on them. It's like I skip some stuff that we don't need right now. There, like this one now. We don't really need it. Where is it? Skip this one, which is this type of, because we don't really need it right now. That later on we can always be. But all this one, they are foot gone. If you don't understand them, when you started doing some stuff, it now look as if JavaScript is hard. It's not hard. The reason why it is hard is because you don't really understand how things are working behind the scene. So by the time later you are now using this, it will not look as if, oh, why are you returning left? Why are you not returning right? Because you already know what is determining how the value is being returned. All this one too, we don't need it right now, but we are going to be needing it later on. And this is where things started getting useful. They're like that, yes. You are not separating anything. This is a real programming language, so it's not structural language. HTML is structure. You are defining structure there, but this is not how things work here. This one follow what we call statement and expression. And most of the stuff here that we've been doing, we have expression there and we have statement. So statement is action. Expression is action that return values. So even you do something, but that thing is going to return a value back to you. So all these things we have been doing since, like all this let age, whatever stuff, this is a statement here because you are carrying out action. You are setting, you are creating a variable and you are putting 5 inside it. But this thing is going to return a value. Value that you return there like that. So again too, when you assign and you do some stuff, you are creating a statement like you are telling do this, do that, and so forth like that. So this is how this thing works. So it's not like the HTML that you describe structure of your page. This one you do statements and expression, and some of the statement is this control flow here. So we have this control flow there like that, and this is what you can use to control how your program is going to behave. For example, look at this one now. Look at this place. So there is a statement going on here. Once I increase this thing to enter mobile, as you can see, there is a button here. So there is something here that is being checked. So once you click, there is something that we are checking. So if that thing is here, open this thing. But if that thing is not there, then close the stuff. So how do you do something like this? That when the button is clicked and something is already available for us, do something here. And when it is not, then do another thing. That's where the control flow comes in there like that. Let me go back there. So this chapter 4, which is control flow. So this is what you can use to control, because it's not everything that you have in your code that is going to work at once. Some of them are only going to come outside based on some condition you have there. For example, we have this score to be 72, but you want to output the grade. You know the rules for the grade. When you have a, when you want to have A, that means you have to score 70 and above. If you want to have B, it means you have to score 60 all the way to 69 there like that. If you want to know the C that you are looking for, you have to get 50 depending on the grading system. So that grading system you are using, then you write the condition, then based on the condition so here we have the if statement. So under the control flow, so under the control flow there like that, we have the if statement, and this is what you can always use. So we have the if statement there. So please look at it. We have the if statement. So this is the if statement. This is a pattern it follows. So you have the if, then inside the bracket you have the condition, then inside the curly brace, it's not a must you put curly brace, but always put it. The reason you need to put curly brace is because if you want to do multiple stuff, so this is another thing, this is another thing, this is another thing. So how is it going to know that all of them are together is this curly brace here? But if it's just one stuff you are doing, curly brace is not required because it knows that that one item is what you want to do. But most of the time, you always see that the curly brace is being used, whether it is one item or multiple stuff like that. But this is inside the curly brace. That's where you put what you want to do, and it will only do this if this condition is what is true. The only time it will do whatever you have inside this your bracket is when this condition is true. If the condition is not true, it will skip it. Even though it's part of your code, but it will skip it because the condition is not met. For example, we don't want to just be displaying the login form every time. The only time the login form will be displayed is when you are not logged in. But as long as you've logged in, there is no need of us doing the login flow again. So you now add the condition header. If the user is not logging, this is what you show. But once they are logging, then forget about that stuff. So that's the so this one. This is, for example, we have age to be 20. So here, the only time this thing will show is when this condition is met. And you know we've talked about it. This is we are checking whether the value inside this age is greater or equal to 18 there. So which is the same thing as saying 20 is greater or equal to 18. No, it is true. Because when you check, so since it's true, that means here what is going to see is true like this. So it's going to say true. And since everything is true, then it will run whatever you have there. But if it is something like this, we have a 0, so and we have that condition. So if it is 0 that is here, so what it's going to see here now, by the time you check, it will be 0 greater than, which is false. So what it will see here is false. And since it's false, then you need to skip everything you have there. So that's how it works. But you'll be putting your condition, it will do the conversion. And that's the reason why we talked about them here first. So that you see all those operators in. But this is how you'll be using them. Not that the final value, but you know that this is the stop, because sometimes you don't even know the value. Because the stop has to come from the user. Is when they tap. But you already had the condition there that once that condition is met, do this. But if it's not, then go with another thing. And once I run it, go to the page, as you can see, no console log, because the condition is what? It's false. But now, if I increase or change it back to the way it is before, you see now, we are now having the value, you are now an adult, because the condition is met. Once this condition is met, it will do whatever you are inside the bracket. But what if you want to do something, if the condition is not, you know this one now, when the condition is not met, it doesn't do anything. So if you want to do something when the condition, when the condition is not met, we have if else like that. So if else statement. So this one combine the two of them together like this. So this is it. So if the condition is true, it will do everything inside this place only, not here. But if the condition is false too, it will only do whatever you have here only. Yeah, so when you are logged in, show the dashboard. When you are not logged in, show the login form. But not the two of them at the same time. It can only do one out of it. Yes. Yes. So let is admin to be false. So here now, by the time you do, if it's admin, do this S, as you can see. So if you're an admin, you are going to say you're an admin. But if you are not, but you know that already this one will be false, because it is false here already. So by the time this thing is saved, what you see is that you are not an admin. But here now, I can just come here and say true. So since it is true, you see that you are an admin. So that's how it works. But again, it goes more than this. We are going to be seeing the other one, which is known as a if-else ladder, that you can always use later on there. So the one we have here is switch, and this one is really useful. This switch is really useful when you are dealing with equality. So when you have one value and you want to compare it against multiple value, but I don't want to go into it right now. So I want to use it where you will have more example, because you can go through it like this. So we have day. So what this one will do is that the value is here, then you start comparing it against different value. So what we are saying here is that the day is Monday. So we are not there when it is case Monday or when it is case Tuesday, because you can see there is a break statement there. But here, let me copy it and run it so that you can understand, because this one is doing more than what. So let me just use switch statement like that. So this is how it works. So this is how it works like this. So let me explain it with this one first, because that one is in. So this is how it works. you have expression here. So you are comparing whatever value you have here into this one. You are checking whether they are the same thing. So if the value here is 1, so you can put 1 here, you can put 2 here, and so forth like that. So you are now checking if this value matches the value here. So if it matches this value, this is what you want, as you can see. So if this value here matches this one, you are going to do everything here until you see the word break. Break means don't continue everything that follows it. That's where you are stopping. So which means everything that comes before the break, that's what it's going to do. So which means if there is no break, so if the value is not to, it will keep doing everything until it sees this word break. And if there is no break at all, it will keep doing everything until you get to the end of this callable. It's not like this if statement that if it is true, it will do this, forget about this one. So in order for you to mimic this one, you must have this break there. If that break is not there, there is nothing that will stop it. It will just keep going and start doing everything like that. And that's what is here. As you can see, between Monday and Tuesday, there is no break. So which means whether it is Monday or it is Tuesday, as you can see, it will always be early week because Monday and Tuesday is early week. But by the time you get to Friday, like that, or even as long as it is not Friday, any other value. So it will check if it is Monday or if it is Tuesday. As long as it is any of them, you get it. But once it's Friday, then no, it's see now, it will not get to Friday, even if it is Monday or Tuesday, because there is a break here. So by the time it's done with this, it will break. Break means just move outside. You are done with everything since you've seen the value you are looking for. But if it's not Monday, if it's not Tuesday, then it will go to the next one. Okay, it's Friday. If it's not Friday too, it will skip it and it will keep doing it until it can't find any one of them. That's when it will now come to default. So which means if it's on Monday, like if you get your Wednesday and Thursday now, this is what is going to print out like that. So if I copy this one now, so copy the stuff like that. So Control Command C like that on window, Control C. Yeah, so Command V like that. So now save it and go back to the page. As you can see, we have early week because here the day is Monday. So you check, is it the same thing as Monday? Yes. So it will just print the stuff. The same thing too, if I change it to Tuesday like that, so you check, is it the same thing? You see that it's not Monday. So you go to the next one. Oh, it is Tuesday. It will still do this one. So which means it will be early week. But now if I use something else, for example, we have a Wednesday day like that. Wednesday, so as you can see, it will bring, because well, you check it, is it the same thing as Monday? No. Is it the same thing as Tuesday? No. Same thing as Friday? No. So no other check again, no other cases. It will now fall into the default. So it will run what you have under the default. But if it is Friday, so even if it is Saturday too, because we did not, so that is a thing about program. So you are the one in charge controlling what this thing is going to do. So now if I use Saturday, so you see that it will be showing me with me. So which means this is what we call, so we have different type of error in coding. So we have syntax error, we have logic error. This is what we call logic error. Your code is working, but it's not doing, the output is not what we are expecting. When it is Saturday, it's supposed to give us weekend, but it's saying Saturday is midweek. So which means your logic, the way you code this stuff, is not correct. So that's what we call logic, because the logic behind it is not okay. But when you're talking about syntax errors means that there is somewhere you're supposed to do something in your code, but your code is not what, like, it's not. So no, we're supposed to put quotes there, but that quote is not there now. So by the time I save it, you get error. As you can see, syntax error. So this kind of error now, it's easy to kind of detect the error, because this thing will actually tell you, as you can see, is detecting it online. But the logic error is the crazy one, because the logic is coming from you. So if you mix it, you have to start looking for where this is. This is a small program. Now imagine a big program that is, and there's a lot of process in between, and someone want to send 2,000 and you're not sending 20,000. So something is wrong. It's working, but it's not working the way it's supposed to. So logic error is the worst there like that. So we have different. So syntax is the your code will not even compile at all, so you quickly fix it. But the other one, which is logic, no, you have to start looking for where something went wrong all day, depending on the complexity of the application. There like that. So this is the switch statement. Apart from this, we have the loop, but I will skip all this one for now because we don't need them until we get to array like that. So that's where you get to object. So that's what we're going to be doing in tomorrow class. There we're going to be talking about objects and we're going to be talking about array. But before I jump into object and array, I'll quickly talk about functions there because this thing will be used when we get to array and object. So we're going to be dealing with functions and dealing with array, and we're going to be dealing with object in tomorrow's class. And by the time we do that, so in the next week now, we start moving into the one that we can now use to manipulate the content on the page. So now everything will now comes together and we'll be using them here. As you can see the way things are moving, they are being used. So nobody will be telling you what is so. But you can see all these dots. What is all this bracket? Is because those things are coming from function here. So this dot is coming from object. That's why you have to know all these basic. These are JavaScript stuff. It doesn't. This one is not about the manipulating content on the page. So even when you are doing backend, everything that I'm talking about is still what you'll be using. So when you now want to be dealing with front end, that's where the DOM comes in. So DOM downward, that's what all the front end JavaScript. But every JavaScript we have been talking about is normal JavaScript that you can use on the web, on the mobile, and for the back end there. So what is all this bracket? What is this bracket? So that's array going on here. So when we talk about array tomorrow, you know the reason why this bracket is being used. So no magic. It's not they are doing any magic. Once we complete these three, everything that is under this DOM, you start, and that's the reason why we cannot just come here and start manipulating things on the page, because you start seeing some things the way you are not, that you don't even know what is going on there, because the way it communicates to the page is different from your HTML there, and that's why it is powerful, because it can manipulate anything on the page there like that. So what is all this? We talked about them in our next class upper next week. But for tomorrow, we're going to be talking about functions. We're going to be talking about array. We're going to be talking about, as you can see under array, that's where you're going to see that bracket there. So for the object, that's where you're going to be seeing the square. And again, so as you can see, is using function. Even array too, it have its own function too, as you can see. So that's why we need to talk about function first, so that you'll be able to see some of this in action there like that. Again too, you see that this thing is talking about the structure, the spread like that. So as you can see, this dot dot dot, which is being used here, I will explain it once you tomorrow you know about them. Yeah, so that's going to be all for today, class 11, right?